Well, good afternoon. It is not every day that you get to walk up into the woods to the remains of a Civil War fort or fortification as impressive as this. This was Fort Duncan, originally constructed in October of 1862, following the Battle of Antietam and capture of Harpers Ferry in September, the preceding month in that year. This was built as a refortified defense for the area, being that the Potomac River and Chesapeake and Ohio Canal is down in the valley here, flowing from the north to the south. And the historic lower town of Harpers Ferry and the water gap is about 2 miles in this direction. You can see the crest of Maryland Heights here, which culminates at the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers, forming the main branch of the Potomac, which flows another 60 miles or so to our nation's capital at Washington, D.C. There was no real major attempt against this fort. There was a little demonstration, from my understanding, in July of 1864 during Jubal Early's drive into Maryland and threat against the capital. But once Harpers Ferry fell in 1862, Union forces reoccupied the area and wanted to refortify this section along the Potomac guarding Harpers Ferry. And you can see how impressive the remains are here. I'm standing on the walls of the parapet. This is probably 15 to 20 feet high. You can see how deep these parapet remains are. And some of the inner workings of the fort, there's some mounds, a series of mounds all in here. And without knowing the exact history and remains of this specific fort, I can only imagine they were either ammunition depots or perhaps the remains of some inner works defenses and maybe even some temporary barrack remains, housing remains in the fort. But it's just absolutely incredible to see this. Not many folks know about this, from my understanding. This is on some maps. This is actually a part of the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal National Historical Park. But living in this area, knowing some of the history, I've only come to attention to this in recent years. And it's kind of one of those off the beaten points on a map that it just doesn't seem like many people know about. And I think this is about my third time walking up into the woods here. This is known as Huckleberry Hill. And it is hard to imagine because this would have been a lot more open during the war years. 1861 to 1865, this would have been largely timbered out and kind of barren hillsides, to what I understand. Is a lot of the troops would have been building encampments, perhaps log huts, forts, other defenses, and also timbered out for campfires and such. But this really is amazing to see. Very vibrant remains, visible remains. Again, this is Fort Duncan, originally constructed in 1862. No real attempt against this specific location except the demonstration in July of 1864, from what I understand, as Confederate troops were moving into Maryland. And just thought it was a gorgeous afternoon to come up here and check out these remains once again. Really the best time of the year to see the actual remains with all the leaves off the trees.